Hey everyone, Alpha Eagle here again. Welcome back to my channel. I pray you're all doing well, and may God bless you all. How, Kimo-sabis? I know I'm way late talking about this, but I'm always late talking about anything, so why should I change now? Anyway, the ex-Twitter user Grayson made a thread about Gary from Nerdrotic, making the usual false accusations of racism, sexism, and all the other isms and phobes, and he went on the Shillcast with the guys from the Fandom Initiative, and that's the video we'll be going over today. As usual, I have nothing against Grayson or the Fandom Initiative guys. In fact, I pray that they will change their ways. Now, before we get to the video, I want to take a look at this guy's ex-Twitter profile so we can get an idea of who he is. He has pronouns in his bio. Now, we'll get to that later. Hashtag every child matters. Now, does that include the children that still are in the womb, Grayson? Free Palestine. Now, I'm curious. Who would you like to win the U.S. election? Both Trump and Kamala are pro-Israel. Now, I believe this guy is Canadian, so he can't vote. But Democrats don't care about the law, so I'm sure they will let him vote. Now, okay, getting back to the pronouns thing, let's hear what Grayson has to say in his own words.
I'll tell them why it's in there, because I want people that engage with me to know that it doesn't matter how they identify themselves, that they are going to engage with me in an unproblematic way all of the time. So if they come to my page, I want them to see that and know that I acknowledge that there are people out there that are either conflicted with the gender that they've been assigned or are trying to, explore their gender identity. I want those people to know that they can come to my page.
Okay, first, there's only two genders. And gender is not assigned, it's observed at birth, or sometimes even before birth, and then documented. Second, there's no such thing as this imaginary gender of non-binary. People who claim to be non-binary are either con artists or victims of indoctrination. Third, gender is not on a spectrum. Now, I'll concede that masculinity and femininity are on a spectrum, but not gender. A biological male who claims to be non-binary is simply a feminine man, but he's still a man. A biological woman who claims to be non-binary is simply a masculine woman, but she's still a woman. Now say, hypothetically, that I believed in this non-binary crap. Putting my pronouns in my bio when it's not necessary, and I'm not non-binary myself, seems that it would be insulting to a non-binary person. I mean, it would be like wanting to be inclusive to handicapped people, yet going around in a wheelchair when you don't need one. And then Initiative's Shillcast was like 4 hours long, so of course I'm not going to go over all of it. I'm also going to jump around a bit and focus on what I feel is Grayson's main points. Let's continue.
But this was the initial tweet that started the firestorm here. Nerdrotic is a piece of shit that we've allowed to operate amongst us for far too long, a thread.
Would you look at that? I had no idea we were in the presence of a monarch, because Grayson seems to think that he is the king of fandom. Now what do I do? Should I bow? Grayson is the gatekeeper of who is a fan, it would seem. Now, what does Bob from Organized Cast have to say about that?
No, I feel like nerd communities, especially like stuff like Star Trek and X-Men, especially that, but like nerd communities in general, it should be like inclusive and, diversity should be welcome. Gary's message is so the antithesis of that, and I can't stand it.
Oh, Bob, you're overstepping your boundaries there. Don't you know that Grayson is the king of fandom and he will decide who is included, not you? Anyway, you guys claim to be inclusive, yet clearly you don't want to include Gary into the fandom. The thing is, with these guys, whether you're included or not is entirely determined by your ideology. If your ideology is different from theirs, they do not think you should be included in the fandom. Ironically, their slogan used to be ambassadors, not gatekeepers, but they have always been gatekeepers. Now, luckily, nobody can stop anyone from becoming a fan. Unfortunately, these people try to prevent people who disagree with them ideologically from setting up in fan spaces like cons. Grayson even tried to convince Comic-Con to stop Gary from getting a press pass.
I recently discovered that Comic-Con ripped his press pass away.
Ooh,
Comic-Con, keep that shit happening. This person is not pressed. This person is not a person that you should have in your. Well, I mean, like I'm sure he's perfectly welcome in the audience, but he is not a valid person to be giving a press pass to.
Let's see what Grayson has to say about cancel culture.
I cancel him, you know.
Well, it's not a real thing, so it doesn't matter.
It's not a real thing. This is not an attempt to cancel him. I do think that if there's any voice that needs to be suppressed, it's people like this.
That he didn't try to cancel Gary, yet he admits to being in favor of censorship. That's how the people on the left are. They are authoritarians who want to censor people. This is a very un-American way of thinking. Then again, he's Canadian. Nobody should ever want to censor another person's right to speak. Everyone should be able to say what they want, and the popular point of view will win the argument. That's how you know these guys are losing the argument. Only people who advocate for censorship are people whose ideas are not popular. Now, what else do they have to say on the subject of cancel culture?
If you want to make an argument that Gary has the right to say what he wants to say, I don't really counter that one, because honestly, I feel like he does. An argument can be made on whether or not it should be monetized.
Absolutely, and also whether or not he should be included at events that have been very vocally against this type of behavior.
There, Grayson suggests that Gary and people like him not be allowed in fan spaces like cons. Again, he is advocating for gatekeeping certain people. Now, this reminds me of another time in our history when certain people were segregated from others. And that's exactly what Grayson is advocating for. Segregation. He doesn't want Gary and others who share Gary's ideology to be allowed in spaces that he thinks he should be in charge of. And all simply because of Gary's ideology. But Organized Chaos said he wants Gary to be demonetized. Grayson says that he doesn't want to cancel Gary, but demonetizing someone is part of what cancel culture is. These cancel pigs attack a person's income in an attempt to scare them into silence. The same thing happened to Gina Carano. The cancel pigs didn't like what she had to say, so they went after her job. Unfortunately, they succeeded in getting her fired from her job. It's exactly what they're trying to do to Gary. Gary makes videos for a living, and they want to take his income away. They tried to take the food out of the mouths of his wife and children, all because Gary doesn't share their ideology and he said something they didn't like. While I was making this video, Grayson, the Fandom Initiative, as well as several others made yet another coordinated attempt on Gary's income and the income of Geeks and Gamers and Ryan Cannell. After the cancellation of the Alkalite, these people wrote up a manifesto demanding that YouTube demonetize Gary and the others. Again, all because Gary's ideology and the things he said. Grayson went so far as to make a call to action to incite his followers to also false flag Gary in an attempt to take away his income. But Grayson isn't trying to cancel Gary, you guys. Oh no, he just wants to take his source of income away so Gary can't provide for his wife and kids. This is why these guys are scumbags. Now, speaking of gatekeeping, the Fandom Initiative's leader, Dane, accuses Gary and channels like him of being hypocrites by accusing others of trying to cancel people and banning people when they themselves ban people.
These guys will always put out some fucking arbitrary standard that they're going to apply to you that they wouldn't apply to themselves. They fucking hide comments on their channels. They ban people, all kinds of shit.
What does Dane do during this very stream?
Are people being removed from the chat?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, honestly, just leave them.
No,
we don't have to
honestly,
answer.
I'll just run my chat how I want to run it, honestly.
Okay,
it's how we... No, they're gone. Fuck them.
It seems that Dane is the hypocrite here, as he bans anyone who dares to disagree with him. Now, I'll give credit to Grayson, who at least claims to want to let the other side speak. But Dane needs to have his echo chamber. That's exactly why they are doing this to Gary. Gary is a fan of some of the same things Dane is, and Dane can't stand the fact that people with different ideologies from his likes the same thing he likes. Dane, like Grayson, feels that he has ownership of the fandom. and that he is the gatekeeper, and he wants to be the one who decides who is a fan and who is not. Dane does not have this power, and it upsets him that he does not have control over the fandom. This is why they do this to Gary. They are doing everything in their power to kick Gary out of the fandom, so they can have their bubble, their echo chamber, their safe space.
Bulletproof windows. Troll safe doors. My safe space. That was nice.
Proving yet again that the left are authoritarians, and they are segregationists. Luckily, they have failed every single time. Speaking of safe spaces and echo chambers, the Fandom Initiative accused Gary and the Friday Night Tights crew of having an echo chamber because they don't have left-wing people on their show.
Right.
I
So
don't know.
these guys bring on Alex Jones. They have who else has been on there?
Gavin
Vivek
McGinnis.
has been
Oh,
on.
Gavin McGinnis.
Vivek has
You
been
know?
on. The Vivek Ramaswamy has been on there. So why do they not have any left people on their shows if they're not far right? Are they not Trump supporters?
they
I do
don't have
believe all of
anybody-
them are Trump supporters, right? All
They
of
don't
them are
have-
Trump supporters.
Now, this is simply factually wrong. The right wing is way more accepting and tolerant of those who have a different opinion than them, unlike the left, who, as far as I know, nobody on the right has tried to demonetize a left-wing YouTuber because of their ideology. And they claim that Gary will never have a left-wing person on FNT. And the thing is, nobody from the left wants to come on the FNT. Now, the Fandom Initiative will say, well, the FNT crew will not come on the Fandom Initiative's podcast. Well, why don't any of the Fandom Initiative go on FNT? Besides, like I said, the Fandom Initiative are factually wrong. There has been left-wing people on FNT. For example, Just Some Guy, a left-wing bisexual, biracial man, was on FNT, and he is way far left. And he was against the Florida Parents' Rights in Education bill.
You can't
Yeah.
even mention that they exist. That was how I found out about this bill, by the way, the Florida bill. It's that you are not allowed to have any school materials condone,
Right.
support, endorse, or address. And that's the problem. Address
Right.
gay,
Yep.
lesbian, transgender, or bisexual people.
Another example is Adam Friended, who is also not a right-wing conservative.
So I'm not a conservative. I'm a liberal.
You said that you don't consider yourselves conservative or right wing. Does that mean you consider yourselves left wing, or what do you consider yourselves?
We're enlightened centrists. We're taking the label back, baby.
Like I'm pro-choice. I'm pro-progressive taxation.
Do you criticize the left or the right more? So you said the left, Adam, I think. Do you think the left is more dishonest than the right?
Since I am on the left, I'm more triggered by the left doing this because they're literally making me look bad. I'm for maximizing individual freedom. That's why I consider myself a liberal.
Adam Friended was also on FNT, so the Fandom Initiative are factually wrong when they claim that no non-right-wing people have been on FNT. Anyway, this video is taking way longer than I thought it would. I haven't even gotten to the crux of Grayson's argument yet, so I'm going to have to split this into 2 parts, so thank you for watching part 1 of Grayson's Trail of Tears. Be on the lookout for part 2. Anyway, that's about it for this video. I'm Alpha Eagle. God bless you for watching. God bless America. And I pray that Grayson and the Fandom Initiative guys stop trying to demonetize people.